Matt Schroyer here. Usually I'm fixing up cars and kludging stuff together, but in this very special episode, I'm going to share some tips on how to pull off something that's a bucket list item for a lot of automotive enthusiasts, driving on the Nürburgring in Germany. My journey started in Dallas, Texas, where I took a non-stop 9.5-hour flight to Frankfurt. There's no train from Frankfurt that will take you to the vicinity of the Nürburgring, so you'll probably have to rent a car after you land and drive 2 hours to the ring. My advice for your rental car is don't worry about finding a fast car for the Autobahn, as you're probably going to be jet-lagged for this drive anyway. Instead, I strongly suggest you rent as small a car as you can. It'll make life much easier if you end up taking your rental to the cities or out in the countryside, which I encourage you to do. Anyway, the next stop on my journey was Nürburgring. Nürburgring is a small town located in the center of the Nürburgring. It's a pleasant place to be, not much in the way of restaurants and bars, but enough to keep you fed, watered, and housed. It's also the home base for a number of businesses who rent out cars specifically for the ring, and is extremely close to the public entrance for the ring. Although I didn't go there during my trip, another popular choice to stay near the track is Eidenau. It's about a 10-minute drive from the track gates and has more options for food and hotels than Nürburgring, but I chose Nürburgring because it's only about a 2-minute drive from the track gates. Wherever you decide to stay, I would discourage you from driving on the ring if you've been up for more than 16 hours. Get a full night's sleep first. Fortunately, some car track rental companies operate a hotel out of their track facilities, which is very handy. In Nürburgring, I was able to both rent a car and book a night at Apex. The location was great, the room was well equipped and comfortable, and so I was well rested to get up first thing in the morning for my drive. Some advice for picking out your first car to take around the ring: don't overthink it and don't immediately rent the most powerful, most exotic car you can find. My choice was a BMW F22 218i Coupe with a 6-speed manual gearbox, powered by the same B38 turbocharged 1.5-liter engine as the base Mini Cooper. This was a great driver-focused starter car. The seats had excellent bolstering that held me in place in tight corners, the suspension and the steering was responsive and well-suited for the ring, and of course the stability control helped me keep out of any trouble. Yet, as good as this car was, when I was done with my laps, I did secretly ponder what that experience would have been like in the Mini Cooper instead. I mean, sure, it wouldn't have had rear-wheel drive, but it also would have been about 400 pounds lighter. So basically, don't let rear-wheel drive snobbery get in the way of having the best time on the ring. I'm pretty confident that driving a front-wheel drive car at the limit around the Nürburgring would be more rewarding than babying a rear-wheel drive car around it, at least from a beginner's perspective. After all, this is a touristenfahrten, not a track day, and there is a difference. Oh, and don't by any means try to take your airport rental car on this track. I can't confirm this, and I didn't see it happen on my trip, but it is possible that the staff will notice and will refuse you entry to the track if they see you in a rental car from the airport. Even if the track staff doesn't notice, your rental company may find out and come after you. You also run the risk of invalidating your airport rental car's insurance, which you really don't want to do, and on top of all that, your rental car isn't going to be equipped with the best brakes or the best tires for the job. So, do the smart thing. Rent a track car from a reputable business near the Nürburgring, max out the insurance on that, and have fun. A track car rental is going to be more expensive than your airport rental, but it probably isn't going to be the biggest expenditure on your trip either. First thing, when I'm talking about the Nürburgring, I mean the 12.9-mile Nordschleife. There is also the GP Strecke, which is a 3.1-mile long course, and that's used for the Formula 1 racing, and sometimes the Nordschleife is combined with the GP Strecke to form a combined circuit of 16.1 miles, but most people who pilgrimage to the ring are looking to lap the Nordschleife, so when I say Nürburgring in this video, I really mean the Nürburgring Nordschleife. The Nürburgring offers tourist days on the Nordschleife called touristenfahrten, where you are free to run the track at any safe speed. A single lap costs €25, which is about $29 Monday through Thursday, and a lap on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday is €30, which is about $35. These credits are loaded onto an RFID card, which you scan at the entrance to the track. If you are renting a track car, which I highly recommend you do, these fees will be included in the track rental, and they'll usually give you the company card to use. If your rental company doesn't hand you a card, ask about it because you will need one to drive on the ring. Because of how Schweden Cruise begins, it's easy to underestimate what's beyond your line of sight and going too hot. Make sure to leave plenty of time to brake here, brake straight, and then turn, not both at the same time. Now, another interesting fact about Schweden Cruise, in 1638, during the 30 Years' War, a former mayor of Kjellberg was killed by Swedish soldiers near this part of the road. The track can close for any number of reasons, accidents, weather, and special events, but one bad accident can close the track for the entire day, so if you're traveling from halfway across the world and this is the main attraction on your trip, you will want to plan at least 2 consecutive days for the track, just in case. Some of the most popular days at the track are the Easter holiday and then 3 and 4 day weekends in May and October, so try to pick some other weekends. Saturdays and Sundays typically are the best days to drive, and the track usually opens at 8 a.m. and closes at 7 p.m. on the weekends, giving you the most time to drive. Other days, if the track is open, it's usually open from about 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. However, these are not hard rules. These times change all the time and without notice, so check the calendar on nürburgring.de. Also, your track car rental company should be able to give you some pointers on the best time to drive. At any rate, getting on the track is remarkably similar to getting on a tollway. You drive up to the gates, the Nürburgring staff might give your car a quick look over, you scan your RFID card at the gate and the gate goes up, and suddenly you're on one of the most historic racetracks in the entire world. Kallenhard is notorious for being slippery when wet, so if your day at the ring happens to be a wet one, brake straight and then take the outside line. The inside of the corner can be especially tricky in the damp. If you come across an accident, you'll probably see yellow flaggers well ahead of the incident. Slow your roll and turn your emergency flashers on as an indicator to let other drivers know of the trouble ahead. In a yellow flag or accident zone, there is no passing. And if you are involved in an accident, pull over to the side of the road as closely to the barriers as possible, get out of the car as soon as safely possible, get behind the guardrails, and call track management. Ask your track car rental company for this number, and for their number in the event of an accident, and keep it on a slip of paper in the car. The Nürburgring is run clockwise, and in under no circumstances should your car be moving in the opposite direction of traffic. You're bound to see some amazing cars at the track, but try not to follow the other cars too closely. Your car may not be set up the same way, it might have different tires, and you're probably not going to follow the lines exactly. So if you try to copy the lead car too closely, you might go in too hot and find yourself off the track. Like the Autobahn, there's a strict rule about which side of the road you should be on. When you are in traffic, always be on the right side and let cars pass on the left side. If you come up on a slower car, pass with care on the left and give plenty of room. Sometimes this means you'll be on the outside of the corner to let a car pass, and sometimes this means you'll be on the inside of a corner to let a car pass. But if there are no cars coming behind you, you are pretty much free to use as much of the road as you need. You will need to look in your mirrors to see cars coming up behind you, but you can't spend all of your time looking in your mirrors or you might miss a corner and go off the track. So use your best judgment there and be courteous to other drivers. The first thing you'll notice when you're on the track is this isn't like your favorite driving simulator. iRacing has one of the most realistic renditions of the track because they laser scan this track to make the virtual version, but even that gets the entrance and exits wrong if you're navigating the course on a tourist day. In iRacing, you enter and exit the course where the pit lane is for racing, shortly after Hohenring. On Touristenfahrten, though, you enter and exit the course on the Dödinger Roa. So if you're used to navigating this course on a simulator, this might disorient you on your first lap. Speaking of video games and simulators, get as many laps in a simulator as you can before you arrive. I recommend iRacing because, as I said before, the track has been laser scanned for accuracy. And also I believe the way the cars in the game behave is more accurate than pretty much anything you can get on a console simulator. So my advice is get a USB racing wheel for your PC, and it doesn't have to be a fancy wheel. Get a subscription for iRacing, purchase the track, and use the lowest powered cars they have in that simulator to learn the Nürburgring. The carousel is an extremely satisfying part of the course, and it is perhaps the most famous part of the course. It is heavily banked, and the top being asphalt and the bottom being concrete. You go in and it spits you out in the opposite direction you were coming. The fastest line is at the bottom, but you might have to ride it on the outside if there's a fast car coming up behind you. Official driving regulations say that filming is banned on the Nürburgring, but my experience is that this is not always enforced. Just don't go sticking a GoPro camera on the outside of your car, and whatever you do not keep a stopwatch in your car. Touristenfahrten is just that. It is a tourist ride. It is not meant for top speed, and it's not meant for time trials. You're not out there to win a trophy or set a Nürburgring lap record, but rather to enjoy the sights, sounds, and other sensations of one of the most historic racetracks in the entire world, on your own terms. Wipperman is a difficult corner because so much is changing. You've got direction changing, elevation changing, and the camber of the corner is changing, so basically everything that can happen to a corner happens here. People like to camp out here and take videos of drivers who get the corner wrong and end up in the barriers. Do not end up in their videos. Brunchen is yet another tricky corner. It's a prime camping location, and sometimes drivers get distracted by the spectators and try to show off a little. Wrecks typically happen when people come in too hot and understeer off the track, or maybe they lift off the gas mid-corner, which rotates the car and points it straight at the barriers. Flant's Garden is another treacherous bit of road. Peter Collins actually died here in the 1958 German Grand Prix. Stefan Beloff in 1983 set a lap record of 6 minutes 11 seconds in the Porsche 956 in a race qualifying session. The Stefan Beloff S is named after him partially because of that record, but also because he had a dramatic accident here during that same race. He walked away from that accident, but tragically died in a wreck at Spa-Francorchamps in 1985. Beloff's record held for an amazing 35 years until Timo Bernhard, who had won the Nürburgring 24 Hours 5 times before, set a lap time of 5 minutes and 19 seconds in a Porsche 919 Hybrid Evo prototype. Frankenkamp has the distinction of being the site where the Earls of Nürburgring once held their public executions, so that happened. This is the last part of the journey, the Dödingerhöhe. GT3 cars can exceed 180 miles an hour on the straight, but I highly recommend that you don't try to hit those speeds here because at this point you either need to exit the track off to the right or queue up for another lap on the left side of the course. The Nürburgring was hands down one of the safest experiences on any road that I've ever had, despite the speed. The temperament of European drivers, especially German drivers, is very chill compared to American drivers. And on the Nürburgring, the vast majority of drivers care about their cars, they care about driving in general, and they know the rules. So, to put it another way, be like the German drivers, and you'll have a great time. The card reading machine here works just like the card reader at the beginning of the course. Hold your card up to the reader, the gate will come up, letting you do another lap. Now I'm going to hush up here for this next lap so that you can just enjoy the sounds. It was my last and quickest lap of the entire trip. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you got something useful from this video. We'll see you down the road.